Congratulations on landing that big interview. Now, here comes the dreaded question. What's your salary expectation? Answering it wrong could lead to rejection, but not answering at all will likely have the same result. Don't worry, we'll teach you how to handle this age-old dilemma in the best way possible. There's more to it than just giving a flat-out answer, so we'll discuss various scenarios you might come across. If you're looking for more advice on landing interviews, navigating the hiring process, and answering questions like this, make sure to subscribe. We have weekly videos planned with practical tips and tricks. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover, leave a comment below. So, without further ado, let's get started. Let's discuss the salary requirement question. Typically, recruiters ask this question at the end of the interview, especially for candidates they are interested in moving forward with. They want to know, what's your salary expectation? To see if it fits their salary range. If they decide to send you to the hiring manager, this information will be included in their initial submission. Now, here's the thing. It's not a trick question. Recruiters genuinely want to know your salary expectation because if they offer you the position, they want to make sure you'll not only accept it, but also be excited about it. They want you to feel like you got a good deal. If you accept a salary that's below your expectations, you'll be dissatisfied and keep an eye out for other opportunities. And selfishly, they don't want to have to refill the position in 6 months or a year. The salary question is essential for both employers and job seekers. While some low-quality employers may try to lowball you, we always encourage finding reputable, high-quality employers. If your salary expectations scare them away, it's probably for the best. Having said that, let's assume you're talking to a reputable, well-known employer. One concern you might have is, what happens if your salary expectations are higher than their range? If you're too expensive for the role, you'll likely get rejected. However, within reason, if you're only $10,000 apart, there may be room for negotiation before the interview process. They might offer hypothetical numbers or different scenarios to gauge your flexibility. They might even ask if they can make an offer that looks different from what you're expecting but still meets your needs. Let's say you have a salary expectation that is $25,000 more than what the employer has in mind for the role. In this scenario, it's unlikely that they'll be able to offer you a package that makes sense for you. Instead, they might tell you, "Unfortunately, we were expecting something a little different for this role. Is it okay if we keep you in mind for a future position that might be a better fit?" However, if you're a highly talented candidate and a perfect match for the role, the employer may still consider you despite your higher salary expectation. They might send your resume to the hiring manager with your accurate salary expectations and say, "There is another candidate who has strong qualifications, but their salary expectation is higher than what we have budgeted. If it's possible for you to stretch it out, it may be worthwhile to have a conversation with them." In some cases, the hiring manager might decide to enrich the role and offer you a higher salary range, making it a level 2 or 3 position. Although it is best not to expect that this will be the case just because you're an exceptional candidate, it's not the norm. But it's possible. Just be honest about your expectations because tricking the employer won't work in your favor. You might be able to work something out, but they need to have a basic understanding of your salary requirements by the end of the interview, or they may not even pass on your application. Now, if your salary expectations fall below the company's salary band for the role, hiring managers love that because they can offer you a raise, and you'll be thrilled about it. Companies have a range of salaries they offer for each position, based on local market surveys and ensuring internal equity across the organization. The HR department works with the talent acquisition team to determine the appropriate salary range for the role, and use that as a benchmark for recruiting. If your compensation expectation falls below the lowest point of the range, the good news is you'll automatically be bumped up to that point. This typically happens when candidates come from less reputable or small companies that don't have the same salary bands. If you find yourself in this situation, it's essential to find an employer who pays you what you're worth in the open market to avoid being too far behind in the salary bands. However, if you refuse to answer the salary expectation question, it won't work in your favor. Recruiters expect a clear answer, and beating around the bush will only raise suspicions and doubt. Refusing to answer the question may result in your application being rejected. as employers don't want to put candidates through the interview process without knowing if they can afford to hire them. To answer the salary question in an interview, there are 3 things you need to know. First, you need to figure out the average salary range for the job in the open market. To do this, you'll have to do some research. Check out websites like Glassdoor or salary.com. And make sure you're comparing jobs in your local area. You may also want to look at similar job postings to get a realistic idea of what the salary range is. The second thing you need to know is what the company is willing to pay. Finally, you need to figure out what your bottom line salary expectation is. This is the minimum amount of money you can accept for the job. You don't necessarily have to share this number with the recruiter, but it's important that you know it yourself. That way, you'll know when you have to walk away from a job offer. So, how do you answer the salary question? There are 2 main ways. The first is to simply give your expectation. If you feel confident about your worth and you think the company is in the same ballpark, then go ahead and give your actual number. Keep in mind that this number you give will be what you work with throughout the process, so make sure it's reasonable and something you can live with. The second way to answer is if you think the company might give you a lowball offer, or if you're worried about pricing yourself out of an opportunity. In this case, you can frame your response by saying, "From the research I've done in the local market, similar types of roles are paying between 90 and 110,000. Does that align with your target?" This way, you're putting the responsibility on the company to tell you if they are paying below market value. If they are, you'll have to decide if it's a company you want to work for. Alternatively, if you're interested in the opportunity and willing to take a lower salary, you could put the question back on the recruiter by saying, "While I've been compensated fairly in the past, an offer is more than just cash. Can you give me a ballpark of where the typical candidate is coming in? And I can tell you if that fits." Remember, the recruiter may push back, so you still need to have an answer prepared. And remember, don't avoid the question altogether. If you approach the interview process with the idea that you'll be vague about your salary expectations and then negotiate later, it usually doesn't end well. The hiring manager is likely to be frustrated if they've invested time in the process only to find out they can't afford your salary expectations. This approach won't help you either. If you sense the recruiter is getting annoyed with your vagueness, it's best to give a straightforward answer. Pushing the issue further could result in you being rejected for the position. So, that's how to take on the compensation question in an interview. If you're getting to the interview stage, you're doing something right. Keep it up. However, if you need more help to get that job offer, be sure to check out our video, What the Recruiter Says and What It Actually Means. It can give you more confidence when answering questions and help your job application. We appreciate you stopping by and hopefully you'll get that offer soon. See you on the next one.